Ah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Utah Jazz won today, but it's not even the win that actually made me the happiest. It's the way that they went about doing it. Because quite honestly, we saw a lot of positive stuff. It was our first game seeing all three rookies get a start together. And my goodness, did it look as good as I hoped it would have. Now, to sum things up, the game got really close at the end, but the Jazz ended up, pulling out the W. So thank goodness for that. But we found ourselves in a situation where, you know, they had to close out the game, and they did. Admittedly, it was the Atlanta Hawks. Sadiq Bey's out with a long term. He's down for the season. No Trey Young, but still, nevertheless, Dejounte Murray came up, showed out, and DeAndre Hunter also gave us like 11 straight in the at the beginning of the third quarter, or at the like midway through the third quarter, I believe, to keep them in the game. For a second place 27, which came off of the bench as their sixth man. DeAndre Hunter played 32 minutes, was 10 of 17 from the field. He was 5 of 7 for three. He was sparking us from deep. We did end up shutting him down in the fourth quarter. Like in the latter half, he only had one 3-point attempt and it missed. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, had 27, had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 turnovers for 27 points. His box score plus minus was a +4. DeJounte Murray obviously was their leg up in the race. 38, almost 39 minutes in this one, 10 of 27, though. He was getting strapped up low key. But when the time came and it really mattered, he was about a bucket as much as anybody else. 5 of 14 from three, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He did have 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, 33 points team high. Actually, that might have been the game high. If memory serves me right, it was a game high. I stand corrected. Um, uh, Highest box score plus minus at a +6. Wesley Matthews had 13 in just 16 and almost 17 minutes. You saw Clint Capella have 10 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 assists to go along with 2 blocks, 0 box score plus minus. You saw Jalen Johnson being their third leading scorer with 26, shooting 8 of 23 from the floor. So his shot selection was there, it just wasn't falling similar to DeJounte Murray's, but he was still pretty effective in the minutes that he played. He was also 4 of 8 from 3. You saw him with 5 rebounds and 5 assists as well. Box score plus minus of a -2. That said, we saw a lot of stuff. Now I had to go ahead and give them their flowers, right? Because the Hawks played themselves a good game. They did end up shooting just 44.6% from the field. They were 20 of 39 from three, though, 51.3%, which is insane, right? They were 20 of 27 from the free throw line. They had 51 boards, 11 of them being offensive. They had 32 assists, 7 steals, 5 blocks, only 9 turnovers all game, and 16 personal fouls. Now, the fun part, right? We saw us shoot 51.1% from the field, 14 of 36 from three, which is 38.9%, which is still a good percentage, but you can't allow 51% shooting, right? That's the end all be all. We were 18 of 20 for the free throw line. We had 53 rebounds. We had one less offensive. They had 11. We had 10. They had 32 assists, which outpaced our 24. They had, how many steals did I say? They had 7 steals to our 6. They had 5 blocks to our 7. And then turnover-wise, we only had 2 more than them. We only had 11, so it was a good game, controlling the ball. There were a couple shaky plays here and there, but obviously we ran a lot of lineups that we have never run before, so that also played a big role in it. But nevertheless, things looked pretty good all across the board. Obviously, we pull out a 2-point W, close the things out when we really needed to. It was good. Now, the biggest point of emphasis, I want to really, really give Keyonte George his props. He only shot 8 of 19 from the field, 42%. He was 1 of 7 for 3, which was a big part of it. But there's a certain level of maturity that he had today that is worthy of praise. I know I'm a big numbers guy. I know most of my videos are focused around numbers, and my explanations always explain why somebody's good based on this, and this metrically. But today from Keyonte George, I saw something I've been seeing a little bit more recently, but I saw it consistently, specifically the entirety of the second half when he played. Now, for reference, overall, played 34 and a half minutes, was 8 of 19 from the field, 42%, 1 of 7 for 3, which is 14%, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, only 2 turnovers, a total of 25 points, which led our team. And his box score plus minus was a 0. Now, he was tough. He did miss his threes, yes. A couple of them I didn't like. I know he's not the greatest off of the catch. I saw one, ironically enough, it was the second to last three he attempted, by the way, he missed both. But the one was off the catch. It was off of if memory serves me right, I don't remember who the wing was. It might have been Sexton who swung him the ball, and he got a screen. He was aided by a screen from John Collins. Comes behind the screen, catches the pass, immediately fires. His feet didn't look set. It didn't look comfortable for him. It looked really tight, and so he missed long. It clinks off the iron and goes off, and then transition possession for the Atlanta Hawks. I said he should have pump faked that one and like sidestepped. Next time he comes down off the catch on the right wing, pump fakes, side steps, a little between the legs dribble, gets his feet set, shoots the shot. It looked a lot better. Even though he missed, it looked a lot more of a comfortable three. So I think for him, it's going to come down to just being comfortable in his frame, being willing to make adjustments on the fly, and just making the right shots and taking the right shots. You can miss a good shot, right? That's always acceptable. But you don't want to take a poor shot just because it's there and you feel like you're getting sped up in the game. For him, though, obviously, if he was 1 for 7 from 3, that means overall he attempted 12 shots inside of the arc and made 7 of them. And a good 4 of them, if memory serves me right, were finger roll layups, and not the simplest ones either. Now, obviously, he had a couple ones where he was shaking and baking. I'm not gonna lie. He was showing a handle that I have not seen work so effectively all season today. But even more than that, I saw a lot of times where he was finishing and he didn't have exactly the greatest angle, but that nice little finger roll right there, high off the glass too. Two times in particular, one in the third and one in the fourth quarter, were particularly great looks for him specifically. And honestly, it was just one of the most impressive offensive games I've seen him play. Now, obviously, I know he's had his couple games where he scored 30 plus, right? But for me, this one was one where like I looked at it and I liked the way he was across the entire game. I liked the way that he was on defense. He wasn't a lockdown on defense, but he was pretty freaking good. I'm not gonna lie. Like compared to Keyonte George even 15 games ago, this is night and day. This is night and day, right? When we first allowed him to get that start, and Will Hardy was like, "It's his time now," and the front office said that it was time for all the rookie guys to go ahead and get their burn and just see what we have. I was a little bit apprehensive. It made sense on paper, but I was apprehensive nevertheless because we had just had a bunch of guys that were helping us win games, and we felt really comfortable with that. It was making us really happy. And then we traded them away at the deadline. And it was like, well, we lost our all our love, the camaraderie, the chemistry that we had as a team. So we're obviously not going to win out. The playoff hopes are dashed, right? We're a lottery team now. But we need to see who our players are and what we're getting out of them. And I think today was a really great day to tell us what we have on the table. Um, Obviously, Keyonte George, despite not shooting great from three, I still love the way that he played, right? Um, Collin Sexton was still Collin Sexton, 31 and a half minutes, 9 of 16 from the field, 56%, 3 of 6 from three. He didn't have a single free throw today, which was surprising. He had 4 rebounds. He did lead the team with assists. He had 6. He had 2 steals, only 1 turnover, had 21 points, which was the second highest on the team, and a box score plus minus, which was the tied for the highest on the team with Jason Preston for positive 6. So Collin Sexton, as reliable as ever, we know exactly who he is going forward. He's a much improved decision maker. He had 1 assist where high pick and roll with John Collins. He backs it out. John Collins face to the rim. Both guys slide up, realize that nobody took John Collins, so they both back up, and then he just beams it in a 360 pass off his right hand, gets right to John Collins, right to John Collins in the breadbasket right there in the restricted area. He goes up 2 hands, punches that thing. It was amazing. Now that steal that he had later on in the game, right? off that rebound by who was it? I have his face in my head. Light skin. Um Off the rebound on our side of the court. He pokes it loose, he grabs the board. Guy gets caught sleeping, not reacting very quickly. One dribble, boom, behind the back, punches it. Pull up on the rim. It's fire. It's fire. But we love Collin Sexton. That's the energy he brings. Yeah, that's the consistency that he has every time he's on the court. Right. Now, I'm debating how I'm gonna go about this. I'm gonna talk about everybody else. The other X factor that I really was impressed with today was Brice Sensabaugh, but we'll get to him in a minute. John Collins today was a little bit underwhelming for me. Best emphasized by the fact that he had a -4 box score plus minus. He was selling defensively in pick and roll coverages, like badly, like 5 open threes bad, and they hit 3 of them. um, I was getting very irritated because I saw Keyonte George, I saw Collin Sexton, I saw them even at one point Brice Sensabaugh, getting caught in pick and rolls that involved the man, the center that John Collins is in coverage with. They'd come up, they would set the screen. John Collins would be under the screen, but he's so far under the screen that he cannot affect the play. Now, the issue is if you have DeJounte Murray or DeAndre Hunter as the guys coming over the screen, they can shoot threes. So by you sinking under like they have a Russell Westbrook 3-point percentage, you're basically giving them a wide open look. And that's something you can't afford to do, especially if you're the Utah Jazz and you're trying to show what you guys can have and and remain competitive without guys like Larry Markkinen in the lineup, right? So with that in mind, um, I didn't love his defensive effort today. I'm not gonna lie. Offensively, there was a couple lapses in judgment, but nevertheless, the numbers for him as a stat line in totality looked really good. He played 29 and a half, almost 30 minutes. He was 7 to 10 from the field. He did hit both of his 3 pointers. He was 2 of 3 from the free throw line. He had 11 rebounds, 3 of them being offensive. He had 2 assists. He had a block. He only had 2 turnovers, 18 points, and 11 rebounds for that double double. But that negative being obviously the box score plus minus. Taylor Hendricks played at 19 and a half minutes. He ended up with 5 personal fouls. I wasn't mad with most of his fouls. Like there was 2 that I thought were kind of boneheaded. But 3 of them, like the last one that he caught was him backpedaling and what's his name? He was backpedaling and DeJounte Murray was on a drive and DeJounte Murray lost control, bumps him, and like as he's falling, like lets the shot up. But because I personally thought he was in a defensive position, his hands were straight up. He wasn't leaning over. Had his hands up and he was backpedaling. Now I guess maybe he should have stood upright and then just let it be what it be. But I wasn't mad with that one. That's a no call to me. But overall, he was extremely foul prone today, so that is something to make note of. He was also 1 of 7 from the field today, which is also something to make note of. He was in the right spots on offense. It just seemed like he had a little bit of a case of butterfingers, and then also he just wasn't. He didn't look like really comfortable. Admittedly, this is his first game back, right? So give him credit where credit's due. He was out for a minute with that toe injury, missed a few games. But he's back now, and I think he's ready to rock out. He was 0 of 3 from 3. We're looking for that to improve because obviously he came into the league with the ability to shoot threes. So we'd like to see him exercise that as much as possible. He was 1 of 2 from the free throw line. He did have 10 rebounds and 3 blocks, which led the team actually. And he had no turnovers. So overall, I was accepting of him defensively. He came in that last 10 seconds that just helped make sure we could seal the game away, and he was there when we needed him to be. He also had a +1 box score plus minus, surprisingly enough. From the bench, Mika Potter had a surprisingly good game. He was 4 of 4 from the field in 14 minutes. He hit both of his threes. He hit the 1 free throw that he had off his and one. He had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, didn't have a turnover, right? 11 points, box score plus minus of a +3. You saw Johnny actually get a lot of minutes today. He had 25 minutes. He was 7 of 11 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3. He was sparking that thing from Yucatan, in the words of Anthony Edwards. And he also had 3 rebounds to go along with only 1 turnover, 19 points, which was 3rd on the team, actually. Him being that leading scoring punch off of the bench, surprisingly enough, with a box score plus minus of a +3. Walker Kessler was not too bad today. There was a couple possessions where you saw plays schemed specifically for him, and I like that because we want to make sure that he gets his confidence up. We know that he's not the most reliant on his own skill set, and he doesn't seem to always feel the most comfortable with what he's doing. So that was a really big moment for him just being able to play a big role and be really confident and just get shot attempts up and make mistakes, right? We want him to make positive mistakes, not just make bonehead mistakes. He was 3 or 5 from the field, though. No three-pointers, no free throws. He had 9 rebounds, 3 of them being offensive. He had 1 assist, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and 2 turnovers for a total of 6 points and 9 boards. Box score plus minus of a 0, which I'm not mad at, 26 minutes even. Still trying to figure out what exactly we're trying to cook up with him right now. But I think that we're putting more of an emphasis on the 3 rookies than anything else. We also saw THT. How do I say this nicely? In my eyes, he was probably the least necessary piece that played today. Jason Preston, but THT was objectively just not great to me. He was 1 of 6 from the field. He was 1 of 4 from 3. He did hit both of his free throws. He did have 5 assists, though, to only 1 turnover. He also had a steal and a block. So defensively, he was there. But offensively, it just seemed like he didn't really mix well with any of the other guards that he ran with. And I think that ultimately hurt him the most. The 1 field goal that he made was that 1 3-pointer, and it looked really good when it came off of his hand. It looked really good when it went in. I was like, okay, let me find out. But overall, it was just not great. And that's also why he played only 19 minutes, which is fine. He also managed a box score plus minus of a 0. So not too bad, right? Not too bad. Then you had Jason Preston, who in almost 12 and a half minutes was 1 of 3 from the field. He had 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 turnover. Overall, considering the fact that he was that G League player of the week, I think that he deserves some burn. It was nice to see him out on the court. Honestly, more than just random minutes here and there. It was nice to see Lucas Samanic not get minutes over some of these other guys, as well as Kyra Lewis. I miss my boy Omer Yurt 7. I'm not gonna lie, but I also understand why he's not in the lineup right now. It makes sense. I'm understanding. You got to see what you got with these younger guys and make sure that they get the ample opportunity that they have, because more or less what Omer Yurt 7 is, right? We've understood more or less what Lucas Samanic is, right? We understand that Kyra Lewis probably is the most NBA ready right now. He's there. He's a garbage time player at the moment. Could he develop? Of course, but right now he has not. So to me, Jason Preston was that guy that deserved those extra minutes right there. Considering that he did average that triple-double. He was shooting, I believe, 65% from 3 during that last week. I think it was 3 or 4 games that the SLC Stars played. And obviously, you added Isaiah Thomas to the lineup. So Isaiah Thomas was the leading scorer over those 3 games. I think he was averaging 32 points. But you kind of expect that from IT, considering the fact that you also pulled up Brice Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and you already had Keyonte George up here. It makes sense that you had a little bit extra space. You also saw us sign Kenny Lofton Jr. and Darius Bazley, both of them to a 3-year non-guaranteed deal. I want to make a video about that one because I actually think that's a little bit interesting. I don't think they're going to have the greatest impact, but I do think that they will have a positive impact nevertheless. And I think that's going to be a very impressive thing to keep an eye on going forward. It's not going to be anything crazy. I don't think either of their ceiling is higher than Taylor Hendricks should be. And the way Brice Sensabaugh played today, I don't know if their ceiling is higher than his, but I still think they have a positive ceiling. Now, the moment that I've enjoyed the most, obviously, I love talking about Collin Sexton. Obviously, I was very high on Keyonte George today, but the other person deserving of praise is Brice Sensabaugh. His parents were both in attendance, and I'm not going to lie, they looked like they were unimpressed the entire game, which was funny to me because I imagine that my parents would be the same way if I was in his shoes. He played he played a little over 28 minutes. He was 5 of 9 from the field, 55%. He did miss all 4 of his threes, but all 5 of his shots that came inside of the 3-point line were good. He had a couple lays. He had a couple turnarounds. I love the turnarounds. I'm not going to lie. His shot selection was very impressive to me. He had 1 fall away that looked really nice to me as well. He was 4 of 4 from the free throw line. He had 4 boards. He had 2 assists, nothing too crazy. His passing was a little bit I don't abhorrent is a crazy word to use. His passing was a little bit less impressive than it usually is, but overall he was making solid reads. He was getting, the proper timeliness with his decision making overall, and he was intentional with every move that he made. Defensively, also, I was content. I'm not gonna lie. In that 28 minutes, I didn't see him getting cooked. There was one time where he got obliterated on the screen, and John Collins was nowhere to be found, sinking underneath the three. And I believe it was DeAndre Hunter that ended up hitting that 3-pointer. But I don't really blame Brice Sensabaugh for that because he got hit. He ate the screen up. He ended up with 14 points total, obviously, 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Solid stat line. Overall, across the starts, I want to say he's averaging 12-ish points on really good efficiency. So he's been consistent. We know we know he has the ability to score the rock. Um, I think the thing that's that's probably going to be the most difficult for him long term is going to be obviously that defensive side of the ball and just finding out what his niche area is from a shooting standpoint. Because I know he can shoot the three effectively. Today was just a bad day for him. It was a bad day for a couple people. He was 0 for 4. Taylor Hendricks was 0 for 3. Keyonte was 1 of 7. So all the rookies combined for literally 1 of 14 from 3. But let's see, 20, 28, 35 combined. They were 14 of 35 from the field, which I don't know. I don't have my brain isn't working right now. How bad is that? Is that good? Is that be 40 something percent? Oh, it's flat 40%. And really that's just skewed because Taylor Hendricks was 1 of 7. Because Brice Sensabaugh and Keyonte George were both north of 40. But I wasn't mad at it at all. It was a quality win. We needed this one. We needed something to boost ourselves up, and it was very impressive, you know? Oh, there's Tayen. Yes, I'm glad you are healthy and happy now, brother. I'm glad to have you back. Sorry, I know I wasn't paying too much attention to the chat, but I'm here now, guys. I really wanted to talk about that game and get all that stuff off my chest real quick. I told everyone before, even they reviewed it, that the last bucket would get overturned. Yup. Said we should foul Capella at the end. Worst case scenario, we tied with the ball, but let's be real. Yeah. Capella missing one. If we lucky they missed that 3. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, because that was a great look from 3. Honestly, he didn't even have to shoot that there because he had like an extra second and a half to really not just get that one off because it was still like 2.3 seconds on the shot clock when he released it, but like there was nobody in his vicinity for a good 10 feet. Let's talk about Keontae's footwork. When has he been able to do this, brother? He's been. That's why I had to say. That's why I had to start this video out talking about him because he was cooking. His field goal percentage wasn't the most elite, but man, look, I saw him do some things. I saw him do some things today. We said Johnny and Potter, they stepped up today. Usually they do not have good games, and they really stepped up, Tyson. You are correct. They were hitting. Also, that play where Potter shot that the 3 was beautiful. Not the fact that Potter shot it, but Kessler's dribble and pass and the big action was crazy. Yeah. Yep. I see that. Only had 10 offensive rebounds. We had 9. Yeah, that was a thing. In the second half, we kind of like really dipped off in that department. Now there were a lot of made shots, but there were also a lot of misses that just didn't get boarded. Yeah. I see the Jazz. Jazz play the Cavs on April 2nd. Want to get autographs, but don't know how. I need a jersey. Yeah, jersey, hat, something. Yeah. Man, look. You said that seal from Sexton was wild? Absolutely. Collins kept us alive in the first. Not gonna lie though, he scored 11 of our first area point. Yeah, that's why I have to give him a little bit of credit. Regardless. Like, yes, I did not like his defensive intensity during that second half, and I think this game should not have been nearly as close as it was, because of that. But nevertheless, the guy still was really good for us. He was really consistent. He was an important part of what we do. And yeah. Dallin, what's good, my guy? Yes, sir, Jeff. They said I missed 20 and 13, Kessler. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I miss it too. The rookie started and Jazz win, nothing better. We got a lot of good tape. because they all played a minimum of 19.5 minutes, which is only because Taylor Hendricks was in foul trouble. If he wasn't in foul trouble, he probably would have played more, despite his 1 of 7 shooting overall. THT kept taking step back long range twos. Yeah, he did. It was a rough shooting night for THT. I think he was the most negative player in my eyes. All this burn for Juzang might mean he might be out the door next season, or or he might be in the door. I don't hate Johnny. I really don't know what to think of him very often because, like in the G League, he scores a lot of points. He's a really consistent player. He's really reliable for them, and he makes the most sense. But for some reason, just when he plays with the main team, I don't see that same level of intensity. Let me pull up his stats real quick so I can not say something crazy about him. Yeah, because this year he's only played in 6 games. I think this is excluding today's game. Can't tell. Yeah, we'll leave it here. I'm on the NBA website right now, unfortunately. Oh, his birthday's coming up. It's almost near mine. His birthday's tomorrow. Shout out Johnny, man. But 6 games played, 9.2 minutes, 2.3 points, shooting 30% from the field. It's not a fun sample size to look at. Only 14% from 3. Hadn't attempted a free throw. 1.2 rebounds, 0.7 assists, 0.2 turnovers. Yeah, so these his NBA stats aren't very indicative because it's not a large enough sample size to me to really tell me who a guy is. You play him less than 10 minutes on average. That means he's playing basically garbage time. He's coming in for he might have one game where he plays 12 minutes, then he has 2 games where he just comes in those last 3 minutes when we're getting blown out by 40. Just stuff like that. So I wouldn't give it too much thought. But I don't know. I think he has the ability to be successful. Do you think we could beat Minnesota tomorrow? The likelihood of it, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty slim. It's pretty slim. It's not impossible, but it's pretty out there for us to do it. Maybe I like Johnny, but he's been developing real slow. Age might lose patience. Yeah, that's true. That's honestly why I thought he was with the G League team for as long as he's been this year, because he just hasn't been offering himself to be the most highest ceilinged player out of all the guys that you have. Do you think that he's at his peak, he will be potentially better than Taylor Hendricks? No. From what we've seen of Brice Sensabaugh and the starts that he's recently got, do you think that he has a higher ceiling than Brice Sensabaugh? Probably not. There's not really a young wing-ish player on this roster that he looks to have a higher potential peak than, and I think that's the biggest issue. Minnesota is very tough. Anthony Edwards has been a dog. Anthony Edwards has been on one. Anthony Edwards has been on one. Speaking of which, let me did they play tonight, or are we the only ones that played tonight? Yeah, I don't think they played tonight. Yeah, so we're on the back end of a back-to-back, and they're on their first game. Yeah, we're cooked. Low-key. Yeah, we're low-key cooked. It's good, though. It's good, though. I'm not mad at where we're at. Yeah. Overall, by the end of this season, we're looking at probably 34, maybe 35 wins. I think I said before. I'm gonna stick with that belief right now. Because going forward, we don't really have that many great opportunities to catch some simplistic W's. We're looking at 2 home games against the Timberwolves tonight coming, and then on Monday. Then we have Wednesday on the road against the Thunder, Thursday on the road against the Mavericks, Saturday on the road against the Rockets. That's a winnable game. Then we're at home against the Mavericks on Monday, that following Monday. Then we have the Spurs at home. Then we have the Rockets at home. Those are both winnable games. Kings on the road. Cavs Cavs at home, probably not. Jazz, excuse me, the Clippers on the road, no. The Warriors, depending on what kind of streak they're on and we're on, that's a winnable game. But it's again on the road. We have the Nuggets at home. We have the Rockets at home, and then we have the Clippers on the road and the Warriors on the road. So realistically, if I'm being optimistic, even with optimism, I don't think we catch the Timberwolves either game at home. More so because this first one, even though we won tonight, we're we're playing the back half of a back to back. They didn't play tonight. I think that they got it. So I'm gonna say we could catch the Mavs sleeping at home, right? So that's one. We have the Rockets on the road. We can have the Spurs at home. We can have the Rockets at home again. Um, we have the ability to catch the Rockets at home that next time. So that's 5 wins. That puts us at 34, actually. All right. And then we could see either the Nuggets or the Warriors. Now, the Nuggets is a home game, right? But the Warriors, both games are on the road. I think we could catch one in Golden State. Um, so probably 30, 35, 36-ish wins. I think is very reasonable for us to say. I don't think that's crazy. But, you never really know. You never really know with this team. I just hope that we get to see more development from our young guys and just see some positive moments out of them because that's the thing that's going to make it the most impressive to me personally. But yeah. With that being said, and if all hearts and minds are clear, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys popping into the live stream. I know our live streams haven't been jumping really recently. I guess it's also partially because of how the Jazz have been performing overall, but by and large, I've still enjoyed, having our times together and just vibing out. I got to get back into making some videos. I'm gonna have one coming out talking about all three rookies. I'm gonna talk about the fact about how Kelly Olynyk, uh, Fontecchio, and Abaji are playing with their new teams. I'm gonna have one probably talking about briefly about the draft, like 2 or 3 guys that I think that we could potentially pick up that could be sneaky good pickups, and what. And then I'm gonna have one probably. I might do an individual video about each of our 3 guys: Taylor Hendricks, Keyonte George, and Brice Sensabaugh, as well, because I do want to make them the focal point of a little things here and there, and then just also the likelihood that we trade Lowry because depending on how well these guys play finishing the season, you could see a world where Danny Ainge says, "You know what? I think that we can be competitive enough without Lowry." Um, it's a very real opportunity for us to trade him for a haul and just, pick up somebody new. And I don't love that, but it's definitely a potential outcome. And I think if the young guys play well enough, it's something that Danny Ainge will definitely not only entertain, but probably might like rub his finger on the red button to fire off that trade. But yeah. What's good, Chris? Yeah, man. Basically, I was actually about to hop off, but just to be quick, the simplest thing, Keontae George had a really good game. Watch his highlights. He only shot 42% from the field. He was 8 of 19, but overall his shot selection and everything was really, really good. Brice Sensabaugh was 5 of 9 from the field. He was really, really good. Defensively, he also left very little to be desired. He was really fighting on that side of the ball. So was Keyonte George. Taylor Hendricks was good on defense, but he did end up with 5 fouls, so he only played 19, almost 20 minutes. He was 1 of 7 from the field and 0 of 3 from 3. Brice Sensabaugh, by the way, when he shot 5 of 9, was also 0 of 4 from beyond the arc. So that wasn't, the sexiest thing in the world, but it happened. Overall, we had a lot to be happy about, a little bit to be a little bit displeased. THT was probably the biggest negative. We saw Jason Preston get a couple minutes of burn, and he was pretty positive in those moments. He did have a couple lapses in judgment, but overall, that was to be expected. Um, you saw John Collins with a double double in the second half. His defensive effort was kind of lacking. You saw him get beat in pick and roll coverages pretty often, consistently and often, which wasn't nice to watch. Which is ultimately why I think the game ended up being, close and came down to the last possession. But of course, DeJounte Murray was going to get his stuff off anyways, which played into the fact that we ended up, in the situation that we ended in. But we were able to close that one out pretty handedly. They died on a 3-point miss, just like we died on a 3-point miss the other day. And I'm pretty content with how things went overall. The rookies play really good. But to get back in, record a couple videos about the rookies, as well as the guys that we lost and some potential guys that we could end up seeing in the future. And we'll see exactly what that looks like going forward. But yeah, man. If all hearts and minds are clear and we all did genuinely enjoy our time together, as well as enjoying watching the Utah Jazz catch a W and the rookies really make statements and give us a little bit more tape on who they are as people and how they can consistently be viewed in the future, go ahead and like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, become a member if you haven't become a member. And as always, it's your boy Ray Tubes. Thanks for tuning into this live stream. I appreciate you guys. I'll catch you guys tonight after this game against the Timberwolves. And as always, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll see you, Jeff. I'm assuming Dallin, Tatum, Chris, everybody's in here. I'll catch y'all boys.